Namah. Vanakkam, Namaste. Welcome once again to everyone. Today we will be discussing about Hatha Yoga, the physical aspect of the yoga. So, what is Hatha Yoga? We had a mild introduction in the previous lectures about the 5 different koshas and the different yoga systems that are there to address each and every one of them. So in this session today we are going to focus specifically on the Hatha Yoga part, which is addressing the physical body. We had earlier also discussed that the purpose of yoga, any form of yoga for that matter, is to subdue the mind-body consciousness, to subdue the ego, to subdue the idea that I am this body, and then to transcend and go beyond. So if we have to subdue the body, then why do we have certain practices that are working specifically on the physical body and is in fact beneficial for the body? So that is where the confusion lies for most people. For people who are in search of jnana, that why would I have to work on my body? Why should I take care of my body? Why should I do some practices that is addressing on the betterment of my physical body when I actually want to shed it off and attain jnana and liberation? Right? This is the basic confusion that many people have, and the Siddhas give answer to this particular question. The Tamil Siddha by name Tirumular, he has written a compendium, a very vast work on yoga called Tirumandiram. And in that, he says, உடம்பை முன்னம் இழுக்கின்றிருந்தேன், உடம்புக்குள்ளே உருப்பொருள் கண்டேன், உடம்புலே உத்தமன் கோவில் கொண்டான் என்று உடம்பை நான் இருந்து ஓம்புகின்றேனே. The meaning of this verse, for those who do not understand Tamil, is that Tirumular says, in the beginning, like everybody, even I thought that this body was garbage, this body was a burden. But then I saw the Lord, the Divine, is actually residing within this body. So once I saw that, then I realized this very body is the temple of the Divine, and hence I am learning to take care of my physical body. There's also another song, Saint Tirumular sings that உடம்பாள் அழியில் உயிரார் அழிவர் திடம்பட மெய்ஞானம் சேரவும் மாட்டர் உடம்பை வளர்க்கும் உபாயம் அறிந்தே உடம்பை வளர்த்தேன் உயிர் வளர்த்தேனே. The meaning of this is going into a little deeper subject here. So anybody who is in the path of attaining jnana, who is in search of jnana, he has to take care of his body. That is the very essence of this particular verse. The reason is, if the body gets destroyed, we no longer live, we die, correct? So after we die, how are we going to make any effort to attain jnana, to attain liberation? So the very point is, for us to work towards liberation, for us to work towards jnana, for us to work towards self-realization, we need to be living in the first place, alive. And for that we have to be healthy, and for that we have to take care of our body. And that's why in the last 2 verses he says, Udalai valarkum ubayam arinde, means by learning to the methods to take care of the body, I am protecting this body. Udalai valarkum ubayam arinde, Udalai valarthen, uyir valarthene. By taking care of the body, I am taking care of my soul. That is the meaning of that verse. So we can see based on these two verses how much importance is being given to the physical body, to take care of the physical body. It's not merely for the sense of, okay, this is me, my body, I have to take care of it so that I can live long and be miserable, or live long and enjoy. It's not for that. But then the healthier body will have a healthier mind, and a healthier mind can help us in going deeper into our sadhana. So that, I think, gives enough explanation on why we need to take care of our body and why we need something called Hatha Yoga. Now, when I say Hatha Yoga, the common understanding is that Hatha Yoga consists of asana practice, which is very true. The major component of Hatha Yoga is in fact asanas. And these asanas, or yoga postures that we commonly know of, they serve multiple purposes. One is that they give us mandatory health benefit. There's no question about that. The yoga postures improve our flexibility. They open up the joints, the different joints in our body. We will discuss the importance of this a little later. Apart from that, there is also a subtler aspect to the Hatha Yoga, even to these postures. And that subtler aspect is these postures also work on our nadi system. We discussed earlier that the nadis are energy channels which are present in our pranamaya kosha, and these nadis transfer and transmit energy, carry energy through the different parts of our body. And a healthy body mind system will exist, a healthy emotional intelligence will exist when there are minimal blockages or no blockages in this nadi system for the flow of energy. So any ailment in our physical body can be attributed to blockage of nadis in that particular part of the body, right? So if we are able to take care of these nadis, work on these nadis, try to clear up these blockages, that means the energy that is carried, the prana shakti or the life force that is carried through oxygen, which is called as pranavayu, through the blood to all over our body, through these nadi channels, the energy channels, they flow more freely and they carry more prana to the different parts of our body, and that helps the body to heal itself faster. And by healing itself and by taking care that there are no additional blockages by regular practice, what we can do is we can achieve a state where our physical body is in ultimate health condition. Correct? So that is the very basic part of the subtler aspect of Hatha Yoga. So what is Hatha Yoga? What is Hatha? The very word Hatha, I think we discussed this last week as well, can be split into two. So it comes from Ha and Tha. Ha refers to what is called as Surya Nadi, which is our Pingala Nadi, and Tha refers to Chandra Nadi, which is the Ida Nadi on our left side. We discussed that out of the 72,000 nadis that we have running all over our body, for the purpose of jnana, for the purpose of liberation, for the purpose of enlightenment, there are three important channels which are very essential, three energy channels which are very important. And these three are the Ida, Pingala and Sushumna nadis. And like we discussed earlier, these run through the center of our spine. So the Sushumna Nadi, the subtlest of the nadis, is running at the very center of our spine, all the way from the base of the spine to the top of our head, which is the Sahasra Chakra. And this Sushumna Nadi is so subtle and it mostly remains closed for majority of us. Slightly to the left of the Sushumna Nadi is what we call as the Ida Nadi or the Chandra Nadi, which controls the right side of our brain. And slightly to the right of the Sushumna Nadi is what we call as the Surya Nadi or the Pingala Nadi, which controls the left side of our brain. So if we have to work on any particular aspect in our lives which involves us to be very analytic, very task focused and very mathematical, calculative, then I think we have to stimulate our Pingala Nadi, that is the right side Nadi, in order to take care that our left brain is stimulated. On the other hand, if we are working on something that requires creativity, that requires more artistic impression, then what we have to do is we have to stimulate our left side of the nadi, that is the Ida nadi, which in turn will stimulate the right side of our brain. It's common knowledge for all of us that the right side of our brain is more the artistic and creative one, and the left side of our brain is the more analytic part of it, right? So these nadis, the right one controls the left brain, left one controls the right brain. So what are the other functions of this nadi? Like I said, the Ida nadi is called as the Chandra nadi, and moon we generally associate with what is called as coolness. And the Pingala nadi, the right nadi, is called as Surya nadi, and which is associated with sun, and sun we generally associate with heat. So why do we need heat and cold? There are multiple things here. One is to regulate our body temperature. So our human body functions and stays at its healthiest when we are at 37 degrees Celsius. The body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, which is 98.4, I guess, in Fahrenheit terms, right? So to take care of maintaining this temperature in our body, it requires regulation. So our body temperature will vary depending on our psychological state, depending on our physical state, and depending on what work we are doing. When we are heavily involved in any physical activity, say we are running a 100-meter sprint, how is the body? The body is, once we complete the running, the body is very warm, it's very hot. So if we measure, it might be nearly 100 degrees Celsius as well, depending on how much effort we exerted. Doesn't mean that we are suffering from fever, it just means that we had involved in a very strenuous physical activity. At the same time, when the body is not very physically active, the body can get a little cold, right? So, but then we have to maintain the temperature, and how that happens is by the alternating breath. So if we notice our breath, just keep our natural breathing, just keep our finger under the nose and just watch. Just the natural breathing without controlling anything. We will notice that at any point of time, for majority of people, only one of the nostrils will be breathing. So if at this moment the right nostril is breathing, maybe after an hour or two if you check, the left nostril will be breathing, and it keeps alternating, and that is how the body's temperature is also getting regulated. And this knowledge is there with the Siddhas, and they can use this for different other purposes as well. There is a set of sadhus or seekers who live in the deepest parts of the Himalayan mountain. Himalayas, as you know, is a very cold place, and these sadhus are called as Naga sadhus. They are avadutas. Avadutas mean that they do not wear any clothing. They do not wear any clothing, and they don't come into the society. They don't trouble the people. So they live in the deepest part of Himalayas and jungles. How do they take care of their body? Himalayas, as you know, is a snowy mountain, and especially in the winters it can get easily to minus 20, minus 30 degrees Celsius, right? And in such temperatures, how is it possible for people to live without any clothing and to survive without dying? So they use this phenomenon of which nadi controls the heat aspect and which nadi controls the cool aspect, and they practice a particular type of pranayama that stimulates that Surya nadi, which can generate heat in their body, and by that they are able to take care of that their body temperature is increasing and it is able to survive the cold temperature that is outside it. And that is one of the applications of the nadis. And also, if we are in the opposite spectrum, if you are living in a very hot and dry place like desert, the Thar desert or the Sahara desert, right? Then there is no humidity, there's just dry heat everywhere, then we have to cool our body. We cannot completely depend only on hydration, we also should cool our body. And in that case, if we practice a particular type of pranayama where we are using the Chandra nadi and stimulating the Ida nadi through using a left nostril breathing, that can cool our body and it can help survive in such harsh environments. We are digressing here a little bit. So now, for the purpose of yoga, what is required is apart from physical health, apart from opening of the joints, we also need these nadis to be balanced. The Ida nadi should be balanced with the Pingala nadi. And when that happens, the person for whom the Ida and the Pingala nadis are perfectly in balance, if you watch their breathing, they will be simultaneously breathing through both the nostrils. So, if we have a question, how do I know if my Sushumna nadi is open? How do I know if my Sushumna is active? How do I know if Sushumna is ready for Kundalini energy to rise up through it? One of the ways to identify that is to watch your breath, and if we are breathing through both the nostrils at the same time without effort, if we are breathing through both the nostrils at the same time, then it means that Ida and Pingala are balanced and Sushumna nadi is open and the Basi or the breath is flowing through the Sushumna nadi. Now coming back to Hatha Yoga. So these postures, they help in balancing these nadis. And before even we go into balancing these nadis, majority of us have a lot of blockages in many parts of our body. Majority of us have a lot of blockages in these nadis as well, that the energy is not flowing freely. So, before even we consider that we have to balance these nadis, what we have to do is we have to open these nadis, we have to remove these blockages, and that is where this Hatha Yoga helps. These yoga postures help. Now, the next part of it is that we discussed about joints. So, we have different practices, different postures which work on our joints, like all kinds of joints, our hip joint, our spine, our wrist, our ankle, our knees, everything gets worked in Hatha Yoga. And we need to open up all these joints and even our neck. So, why is that important? Multiple reasons. One very basic explanation is that these joints, once they open, what happens is it gives us immediately a very high degree of flexibility. It helps us to improve our flexibility immediately. Right? So if we continuously work on opening up the different joints in our body, that means that we are slowly and steadily progressing towards a more flexible, more subtle body. Right? The other thing is, during our daily life, during the different scenarios that we are facing, we face different kinds of emotions. We are happy, we are exhilarated, we are excited, we get angry, we get dull, we get bored, we get stressed a lot. So we are experiencing this at different scales in our daily lives. So everybody goes through some parts of it at least. Right? And what happens is, whenever we experience a negative emotion, the impressions of it are stored in our body. They are not just stored in our subconscious mind, they are also stored in our physical body. Why and how does that happen? If we get stressed, for example, if we get angry, for example, how is your body? Notice your physical body. Is it completely relaxed? Absolutely not. So, when we have this mental stress, when we have this emotional stress, it would directly translate into physical stress, meaning we will be like clutching our joints unconsciously maybe, and some of our muscles will be tightening it, and there will be stress and the residue of it will stay for a longer duration. And it's not just the muscles and joints. So what happens is there is something called connective tissues that runs all through the body. What happens is even these residues of this stress goes and gets stored even there, the connective tissues, and they stay there for a longer period. They do not get released so soon, and this is something which we have been accumulating over a period of time, right from the time we were born. We have been living all these years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, and we have been accumulating the various experiences that we have undergone, the various emotions that we have undergone throughout our life, and their impressions are one stored mentally inside our subconscious mind, and then they are also stored physically on our physical plane of existence, which is nothing but this physical body, which is the Annamaya Kosha. So, do we want to stay with them? Don't we want to relax? Don't we want to let them go? So, how do I know if I let them go? What will happen if I let them go, if that thing goes off my body? We were discussing about how the different experiences in our lives, the different emotions that we are going through, gets stored not only in our subconscious but also within our physical body. And these impressions are majorly stored in our joints, because when we get stressed, joints are the first parts of our body that get stressed, that gets any activity, right? So our joints are the first place where our life impressions are majorly stored, and they can in turn impact our flexibility as well, because if there is stress, it means that there is no relaxation, correct? So when somebody is completely relaxed, can we say that the person is stressed? It sounds absurd, correct? So if a person is relaxed, it means that there is no stress. At the same time, if a person is very stressed, can he be relaxed? Can a person be stressed at the same time relaxed? No, once again. Right? So, how do we remove the stress from our body? How do we remove the stress from our mind? First, focusing on our body, and that is where these Hatha Yoga postures help. These Hatha Yoga postures, they come in a set of pairs. Each pair will be addressing one particular joint in our body, one particular area in our body, and there will be, for example, if there is a forward bending, there will be a counter pose which will be a backward bending, so that it balances that particular joint, right? So this is how the pairs are practiced together in Hatha Yoga. For example, if we take the Sarvangasana or the shoulder stand, for people who know about it, there is a very deep bend in the upper part of our back, upper part of our spine near the neck, when we are standing upside down, resting fully on our shoulders and on our neck, correct? At that time, because of the deep bend, that you can consider it as a forward bend, which is one asana. The counter pose for that would be what is called Meenasana, or the fish pose, or the Mathyasana in Sanskrit. So that will be like sitting in Padmasana, lying down back with a deep arch in our upper back, and that arch is in the opposite direction of the forward bend that we had in Sarvangasana. So this way, both these asanas, they work on the same part of our spine, but then they work in opposite directions. When that happens, what happens is that joint gets balanced. The flow of energy through that part of our body gets balanced, and it opens up a little. So when it opens up a little, then there is more space for more energy to flow. When more energy flows, then more healing happens. It is very simple. So when there is more prana shakti directed at a particular part of our body, that prana shakti has enough intelligence to take care to heal that part of the body, if that was a requirement. So, like this, Hatha Yoga asanas are generally designed in pairs, a pose and a counter pose, and when practiced together, they help to relax and open up many blockages in our body, in our physical body. So there are different postures address different parts of our body, different joints of our body, and not just these postures. There are some postures which require a little bit of warming up of our body. For example, Padmasana is difficult for many of us to practice. So one cannot directly simply go and sit in Padmasana unless we have attained that level of flexibility. So for that, what we generally advise people is that before going into Padmasana, let's do some warm up. Let's open up our hips, let's open up our knee joints, let's open up our ankles. So we warm up these joints which are majorly required to hold the Padmasana in comfortably, the lotus pose. And these warm up exercises as well, they help in opening up these blockages. They also help in relaxing these joints and releasing the tension from those joints. Right? So along with these warm up exercises, along with these postures, when they are practiced in pairs, as we discussed earlier, we can certainly address the stress that is getting stored in our physical body, in our joints, very strongly, and we can derive the benefits, we can experience the benefits within very short time. It doesn't require a lifetime of practice. trekkers just regular practice on a day-to-day basis, within a week or two, we will know that our physical body has an improved sense of rejuvenation. It is more relaxed, it's more open, and it's more healthy. Not only that, it even corrects our posture. Our shoulders are like back and down, relaxed, and our chest is like open. We don't sit like this any longer. So it automatically helps in our posture as well, and more importantly, it gives a very calmer sense of mind and a very confident outlook. This happens with exercises as well, regular exercises as well. But then the difference between regular exercises or working out in a gym and the postures is that when we work in a gym, when we do weight training or something, it builds strength. It contracts our muscles and builds strength, but it works only on our muscles and tendons. It doesn't go any deeper than that. On the contrary, when we are practicing the physical postures, these asanas, they not only work on our physical body, they not only work on our muscles and tendons, they go even deeper and work on our internal organs. That is a very top claim. They work on our internal organs actually. And many common problems that we face in our modern society, such as digestive disorders, bad neck, lower back pain, etc., they can be easily removed by regular practice of Hatha Yoga. And that is because they not only work on our joints, they not only work on our muscles, they work also deeper into our internal organs. They also help cleanse our internal organs. The very purpose of any form of yoga, be it Hatha Yoga or Pranayama or Dhyana or any other form of yogic practice, is to cleanse our existence, to purify our existence. So, when it comes to physical body, what does it mean by purifying? What are we purifying ourselves from? There, we discussed earlier that there is a lot of stress that is stored in our physical body, the past impressions of the various scenarios, various life situations that we had undergone, various experiences that we had in the past. They all have left an impression. They have their residual impact still within our body. So for us to be completely healthy and relaxed, we have to remove all of that. I'm just repeating it all over again. We have to remove all of that. So with the practice of Hatha Yoga, we can relax and release these tensions that are present within our body. And when the physical body is completely relaxed, that automatically helps the mental body, which is our mind, to go into a state of relaxation. And when the mind and body are relaxed, stress cannot affect that person. That is the difference that we see between two different people, how they react to the same difficult situation. One person remains cool even though it's a very tough situation. One person, we may have noticed, they can remain cool and they are able to handle the situation better, apply their thinking even better, and arrive at a very positive solution. There could be other people who get tensed, who get worried, who get very agitated, and their mind does not think clearly, that does not think straight. What is the reason? If the situation is the same for both of them, the reason is how relaxed a person is, how sound a person's mind is, and all that is a benefit that we can derive from the practice of Hatha Yoga, which in turn also helps to strengthen our mind and our emotional body. Now, in the next part of this talk, what we are going to discuss is how to practice Hatha Yoga. Like, what are the requirements to practice asanas and how should it be practiced? There are different schools of Hatha Yoga. To give a background, Hatha Yoga, or the physical postures, practice of yoga, was revived in the modern times by a great yogi by name Krishnamacharya from South India. And his students, or whom we commonly know as the stalwarts of modern yoga, be it B.K. Iyengar, be it Pattabhi Jois, be it Desikachar, they are all the students of Krishnamacharya, and their schools have spread across the world, all over the world, and their students have in turn come out and started teaching their own interpretation of different forms of yoga. All that is fine. But when we are discussing here how to practice yoga, we will be focusing mainly from the Kriya perspective. And when I say Kriya, we know that the word Kriya means action with awareness. And for us, the reason why we are practicing Hatha Yoga is not just to derive physical benefits, but also to purify the physical part of our body. And purification here not only refers to removing the stress from our body, removing and opening up these joints, it also refers to blockages, removing the blockages in our Nadi system. It also implies that we completely relax our physical body and stay healthy. So, as a supplement to this, we should also be taking care of what we eat. So, you cannot say that, okay, I will practice Hatha Yoga, but then I will eat like a pig and I will expect to stay healthy. That doesn't work, right? So, if you want to be healthy, we have to take care of what we eat, what fuel goes inside this engine. If you have a Ferrari car, for instance, we all know that the Ferrari car will have a very, very competent engine, a very highly performance oriented engine. Would you pour kerosene into it and drive? Would you pour a very low quality of petrol or diesel into it? No, we go for very high value, very high quality of petrol. We go for very high octane number petrol, right? Why is that? If Ferrari is such a good brand, if it is such a great engine, if it is such a great performance car, shouldn't it take care of all the consume all different fuel? Not really, right? It doesn't make sense. It's an absurd comment, absurd expectation. For an engine to work at its optimal level, the main ingredient is quality fuel. So, if we have to stay healthy, if we have to take care of this physical body to its highest potential, we should take care of the quality of food and also the quantity of food that goes in. So, that is just an additional thought. We are not going to dwell deep into what to eat here. Right? So, we will go back to discussing about the postures. Now, we said that in Kriya Hatha Yoga, the word Kriya means action with awareness. So, when we practice Hatha Yoga, when we practice these postures, pose and counterpose, pose and counterpose, we do that with utmost awareness. Every single movement in our body, every single sensation that we are experiencing, we watch it very carefully. And that is how we can easily understand which part of our body is open, more flexible, and which parts of our body are little stiff and needs more work. And it is also helpful that when we always observe our body, when we always observe the different sensations that we are going through during the practice of postures, it can help us to understand the benefits that we are deriving. If we do not observe, for example, let me just do the postures mechanically like how I am doing exercise. So, what difference then does it make? One, the quality of practice might not be as great. However, the more important part of it is that we cannot really understand the benefits of it. On the other hand, if we start observing from the day one of our practice, if we start observing how our body feels, where do I feel the tension, which asanas are easy for me, which asanas are difficult for me, when we start observing during the asana even, as we practice regularly, we can easily keep track and realize that the daily practice, the regular practice is having an impact in our body. And after say 2 weeks, some of the asanas might make you feel more and more open. You can be going deeper and deeper into the asanas, and we can realize that when we are able to observe our practice on a daily basis, during the practice, even not after the practice, during the practice, as we are doing it, action with awareness, asana practice with awareness, with utmost awareness. And that is Kriya Hatha Yoga. The other part is the postures are practiced in pairs, pose and counterpose. And then the most important aspect I want to discuss in the practice of Kriya Hatha Yoga is how to practice, how it is expected to be practiced. This might be different from different schools. So we are talking only from Kriya Hatha Yoga point of view. Here our aim is to attain utmost relaxation, not only for the physical body but also to the mental body. So when we are practicing, the idea should be that we should be able to go into a state of meditation even while practicing in asana. So that should be your ideal when we are practicing the postures. That these postures should be able to take us to that meditative state even when we are in the posture. Not when we are relaxing after the posture. Even when we are in the posture, it should help us to relax deeply. My teacher has experienced samadhi while practicing asanas. And she said that her first experience of samadhi was while she was practicing asanas. She has been practicing for 40 years and she has been teaching for 30 plus years, maybe more than 40 years now. And when we say that we are able to go to the level of samadhi even during the practice of asana, we can see and understand that how potent these practices can be, how potent these postures can be when practiced in the right attitude. And for that, we want to address to each and every kind of person. We want everybody to be able to practice Kriya Hatha Yoga. And that means that we are not looking only at very highly flexible people who want to come and do the posture perfectly and give a very photogenic effect in each of their postures. No. We want each and everybody, irrespective of their age, their health condition, their flexibility, to be able to practice these asanas and derive benefit. And for that, we are not encouraging or we are not advising that the aim of the practice should be to attain a perfect posture. But the aim is to work with our limitations and always to continue to improve. That should be the aim. And hence the impact and the focus is not on the attaining the perfection in the posture, but it is more on working within our limitations and doing the posture, practicing the posture with complete awareness and pushing our threshold little by little. This also means that we should not be practicing the asanas when in pain. It means that we are pushing too hard. Practicing asana when it pains is a very good way to injure ourselves. So once we get this injury, then this muscle injury or ligament injury, they take long time to heal. I'm not trying to threaten people here. What I'm saying is the right method to practice. So we should be able to differentiate between where we are stuck because of lack of flexibility and where it is paining. And when it pains, we can easily recognize like a sharp needle-like pain within that part of our body. When it pains, even when it begins to pain, we immediately go back to the previous stage in our asana. So we never do anything in pain. The other recommendation is not to hold our breath during the practice of asana. We have developed this habit of holding our breath when we are doing something physical which is little harder, which is little strenuous. So when we are performing some asana which is a little difficult, natural tendency would be for us to withhold the breath. We want to avoid that. On the other hand, we want to use our breathing to help with our asana practice. How does that happen? When we are working with the asanas, there will be stages in our asana practice where we are experiencing some difficulty, some blockages, some joints are not so flexible. So at that point, what we can do is focusing on that area where we lack flexibility. We can take a deep breath in, and inhalation helps add strength. And the focus should be in the part where we are experiencing difficulty in our body. And we can push a little more as we start to exhale. And exhalation gives relaxation. So inhalation adds strength, exhalation relaxes. And as we relax, it can help us gain a little more flexibility in that part. It can help us push a little more in that asana. Like I said, we have to work with our boundaries but never cross the boundary. So the boundary is our threshold of pain. So threshold of pain is the point where our level of flexibility ends, and if we push a little more, it will start paining. We may start getting injured. So we should always stay within the boundary, and when we work with our boundary without crossing it, slowly and gradually our boundary size will increase and our flexibility limits will increase even without we knowing it. For that, we have to practice regularly. And so the rule once again goes here, do not hold your breath while you are practicing. It means that we are trying too hard. And do not do any postures in pain. It means that there is a good chance we might get injured. Right? And the other part of it is, every asana that we are learning is taught in steps, in different stages. So for example, to do a Padi Chakrasana or half wheel pose, there are different steps to reach that final posture of half wheel. And if a person is not able to reach the final step, he can go back to the previous step and stay there and still derive benefit from the asana. Instead of saying that, okay, I am not flexible enough, my wrists are not strong enough for me to hold my half wheel pose, so I will not practice that. Instead of saying that, we can do the asana in different stages and go to that stage where we are able to comfortably hold the posture for longer duration. Maybe the next stage in that posture may be a little difficult. So with practice we may be able to develop our ability, but then we must always go back to that level. If some stage is difficult, we always go back to the previous level and we have to stay there for longer duration. The other aspect of asana practice is that to derive the best benefits out of asana, we have to stay in that asana posture for at least 2 minutes. Okay? And when we stay in that posture for at least 2 minutes, that is when we get the best benefit out of that asana. And once we come out of that asana, then we relax at least for 2 minutes, like a mini shavasana. We don't have to do a full complete shavasana after every asana. Instead, we can just lie down and relax for at least 2 minutes. So the general guideline is the duration we are staying in the posture should be equal to the duration we are relaxing immediately after the posture, so that we get the benefits of the posture immediately. Correct? So, to stay longer in the posture, it has to be comfortable. And to be comfortable, we have to stay in a place where we are not straining too much, we are not holding our breath, rather our breathing is natural. At the same time, it's not physically too taxing for us to hold that posture. So we have to stay in that state where we are able to hold that posture for longer duration to derive the best benefits out of it. So, to recap, let us see what are the different rules or different recommendations in practicing of asanas. 1. The asanas are always practiced in pairs. Exception are the asanas Surya Namaskara and Trikonasana, because these two asanas individually, they have both pose and counter pose within them. So, if you take Surya Namaskara, once there is a forward bend, immediately there is a backward arch. So the entire posture itself is balanced and complete. So it doesn't require a counter pose per se. Same is the case with Trikonasana or the triangle pose. Other than this, every other asana that we practice, we will practice in pairs, pose and counter pose. So that is the first recommendation. Second recommendation is never do any asana in pain. So always work within your limits and try to extend your limits without staying in pain, without experiencing pain. So always work with the boundary to increase the boundary. The third is never hold your breath during the asana practice, which means if we are holding our breath, it means that we are already straining too hard and we are not relaxed. So we always go back to the previous stage in that asana practice where we are able to breathe naturally and freely. And then the final recommendation is to stay in the asana posture at least for 2 minutes to derive the best benefits, and also to relax after every asana for equal length of time to derive the benefits immediately. And one common thread of recommendation through all this is do everything with awareness. Kriya, as we saw, is action with awareness. So do everything with complete awareness. Put your complete focus here. During the asana practice, don't think about dinner. During the asana practice, don't think about what happened in the office or what your wife said or what your husband did. Right? So put your complete focus and energy in the asana practice. So we will be sharing some of the videos on how to practice asanas, what are the different asanas that we have in forthcoming weeks. In Kriya Hatha Yoga, we have a set of 18 asanas that were carefully chosen by the Siddhas, and these 18, they have the capacity and their aim is to work on balancing our Ida Pingala nadis and also to work on our chakras. And by regular practice of these 18 asanas, it can help to open the Sushumna nadi, which is very important in our pranayama practice to raise the kundalini to the top of sahasrara. So that is the connection, that is where I am putting everything together. Not only that, by regular practice of these asanas, it also opens up the different joints like the hip and the knees and the ankles and the back and the neck, everything. And which allows us to sit in meditation for longer durations without moving. So, if we are able to sit in meditation for longer duration, it means that without getting any discomfort, without experiencing any discomfort, if we can sit comfortably for longer durations like 1 hour and 2 hours without moving, that removes the first distraction in our meditation, which is the physical ailments in our body. Oh, my knee is paining. Oh, I feel like changing my position. So my hip is paining. I'll just move around a little bit. So all these things are distraction in our meditation. If that thing is removed, if we can stay comfortably without moving for longer duration, that can in turn help to go deeper and deeper into our meditative practice. And like I said, this asana practice also opens up our nadis, and it is in turn supplementing and complementing our pranayama practice. And within this, we can see that just the mere practice of physical asanas in Hatha Yoga not only has benefit for the Annamaya Kosha, but it also has benefits for Manomaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha at least. During the asana practice videos that we are going to demonstrate in the coming weeks, we can also see that this asana can also develop bhakti. Because there are certain asanas which are having an attitude of surrender. So these asanas can in turn have capacity to develop bhakti inside us. And we will also see how we can use mantras during the practice of these asanas, how we can focus the mantras in different chakras, for example. So that addresses the Kriya Mantra Yoga as well. So we can see all the 5 phases of yoga, all the 5 Kriya Yoga phases can be practiced even within the first phase, which is the Kriya Hatha Yoga. So we will discuss that in the upcoming weeks about when we demonstrate the Kriya Hatha Yoga practice. Until then, thank you and goodbye. Namaste, take care.